Well, hello, hello.
Hello,
Welcome
how's it
to,
going?
I know, right? Welcome to another episode of Faith Loving Coffee. Today we're very excited because we are jumping off with this four-part series of faith over fear. And today our episode is, take it away, Jamie.
Motherhood anxiety and fear of the unknown.
Yes.
Gracious. What a topic.
Yeah.
Especially since yesterday was International Women's Day, right? People
Yes.
were like celebrating everywhere. So
Indeed.
today we figured we'd talk about being a mom because, hello, we need to be celebrated every day. Um, so
Amen.
that's what brought us here.
Yes, indeed. Um, but yeah, that's exactly what brought us here. This we wanted to break this down, and we went over this last week, but we wanted to break this down because there's so many different things about anxiety, and then um trying to overcome that, overcome anxiety. And fear has a lot to do with that too. But we thought that this particular subject on motherhood would be the best one to start off with, because
Mhm.
most of us are moms. And if you're a single person out there and you're not a mom, but you have like siblings who have kids, and you've got nephews and nieces, and this is still a part of motherhood, regardless, whether you think of that or not.
It's true.
um yeah, so we're actually, if your brother or sister leaves you with your kids, you're a mom for that short period of time that you're taking care of them. Okay. So,
Absolutely.
and there's anxiety about that too.
Trust and
So
believe that.
yes, indeed. So again, we're not experts. We're not, gurus. We're not any of that stuff. However, we are both moms. And again, we're going to be going off our pages as always. But we do have a couple of good stories to tell you guys from our lives, but we're really interested in hearing about what's happening in your life too. So, anytime you want to pipe in, just get online, or, get on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're listening from today, and, post a comment. We'd love to get to know you. Even if you say, hey, I'd really like to talk to one of you guys, you know, DM us, and we'll, see what we can do about getting in contact. Because again, we're here about creating community, and we're here about sharing stories. So just pipe in whenever you want to. Okay. All right. So, let's see. Well, first of all, this is Faith, Love, and Coffee. And I got my mug here with coffee. Okay. And this is a special little mug because my sister got this for me, saying, you're one amazing sister. Well, back at you, babe.
Yeah,
Because
thanks.
you are too.
And I
But
don't have
yes.
coffee today, y'all, but I do have my trusty water all the time.
Yeah, I've got some of that too, just in case.
Yeah. I had my cup earlier due to the time change. It was an hour later than I'm used to, but hey,
Oh my
whatever.
gosh. Like, I think I said this earlier. I felt like a zombie. And this time change, y'all, is a big deal. Talk about taking off your circadian rhythms.
Yeah. It totally threw me off. I was like,
Oh my
"What?
gosh.
Oh my gosh."
Oh, I know
So,
that on Friday before I left work, I told my coworkers, I said, y'all, get your coffee ready, because we're all going to be a little off even tomorrow.
for sure. Gosh,
For
crazy.
sure. Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and get on with this. So let's talk about the common forms of motherhood anxiety. Um, One of the biggest ones out there, I think I mentioned beforehand, there's no manual to being a parent. There's all kinds of books out there, but everybody is different. That could be their truth, but it may not be your truth. But there are some great books out there, I'm sure. But the one question that we all struggle with, I'm sure, is, am I good enough mom? Am I a good enough mom? I,
Absolutely. And I wish I had a book to recommend on it, but I was too busy being a mom when I was raising Devin to really read anything about being a good mom. It's so bad. Um, and now I can tell you plenty of books on anxiety, and all kinds of other things. Um, the only book I do remember reading that I think most women get when somebody finds out they're pregnant is like What to Expect When You're Expecting, right? Who hasn't been given that book, right? Now it's
uh-huh.
probably on some sort of audio book type thing. Or
Or just watch
another,
the movie.
yeah, or another edition has been created, right? Since times have
Right.
changed. But I
There's
do
so many
remember
new
reading that.
editions.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember reading that. It was probably the one of the originals, because that's how, like, old school we are. But it never really that question of, "Am I a good enough mom?" I don't think hit me personally until maybe Devin was in middle school. Um Because that's when I became kinda secondary to his friends, like, I was still his mom, but then my views and opinions kinda were like, "Eh, you're just mom, my friend says," So then I started like, "Oh my gosh, am I a good enough mom? Am I doing everything, according to this handbook that doesn't exist?" Um And so it's when your kids, like, really become teenagers, or like me, that's when I really started like, "Oh my gosh, I need to get my behind in gear and really put forth, like, you know, that
Yeah.
good mom."
Yeah. So just so y'all know, I mean, Jamie has a 25-year-old son. Okay. My nephew Evan, he's wonderful. But I have a 14-year-old daughter. And I had her later in life. I had her when I was 41. And Jamie grew up with her son because she was 22 and they grew up,
22.
together.
Mhm.
So, so mine was when she could start comprehending like your ABCs and colors and everything else like that. And I was always questioning myself: Am I teaching her enough? Am I doing enough? Am I showing her the things that she needs to be shown? For her to maybe go to pre-kinder, kindergarten, whatever.
Yeah.
And honestly, you don't have to really stress because they're going to teach her what she needs to know. But you can complement that by, being at home. But, just like Jamie had said, it's that middle school, those middle school years. And I'm sure that all of us remember what it was like to be in middle school. Listen, kids that age are atrocious. There's no other way
Oh,
to
yeah.
say that because you've got your clicks and you've got people talking about this and you got people talking about that. And oh, and so was hooking up and blah, 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 blah. And then, well, mom, you must not know because my friends are saying this about this. And I'm like, listen, we've been through it, been there, done that. Yeah. We're gonna have like bars on the windows when you become a high schooler.
Oh, yeah. And I taught middle school for a few years, and they're crazy. Like, they're a different type of situation, and if you are in the midst of raising a teenager or even a preteen, which starts even earlier these days, um, I'm praying for all of you, um,
Thank you.
because their hormones are raging, and it depends on what age you are as you're raising them, your hormones are also raging. I used to tell my middle schoolers, "Let me know when it's your time of the month so I can we can kind of coordinate attitudes and situations because I also was going through stuff um, hormonally and everything. So, like, it was a challenge because every day we don't wake up like,
Yeah.
"Hi," right?
Yeah.
So, it's these years that, like, I again, like I said, I was questioning, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I saying? Am I doing the right thing?" Because your kids now as preteens and middle schoolers, teenagers, they still listen, but they now their friends are their main go-to
Mhm.
people. So
Mhm.
you wanna make sure they're with the right people, hopefully,
Yeah.
in that
And then that
regard.
you're like, you know, and then talking about the S word, sex, you know, and answering questions. And am I telling her right? Am I, sure they have sex ed in school and, they have it with health and whatever. But, you know, you need to have those conversations at home too. And honestly, I think the preteen age is the perfect time because kids are having sex earlier and earlier, you
Yeah,
know?
they are.
I mean, you just hear it all the time. And or, like my kid will come home and she'll be like, I think I heard somebody doing something. And I'm like, where and what? No. She goes, well, I just passed by a door and I heard something. I said, that's probably something you just overheard or, something that I said, but normally in school they have cameras everywhere, so that I doubt if they would,
Yeah,
especially now they have cameras everywhere, and I
they
mean
do.
everywhere.
Thank goodness.
So thank goodness, that was a smart move. But she'll say, "Oh, do you know what this is? And do you know what that is?" And I'm like, "Yes." And she caught me off guard because she did ask me about something, and I couldn't answer her because I'm like, "What the heck is that?"
Ooh,
So there's new things coming. I have no idea what they are.
I
And
don't
I said,
wanna
do you
know
know what
those
it
things.
is? And she says, no. I said, well, then we don't talk about things we don't know about. And that's the only thing the only best advice I can give her is if you do not know what something means, then you should not be going around saying anything about that particular thing because you don't know anything about it.
Yes, please
So
ask more
I know it.
questions
Yes,
before
and I
you
know it's a
start.
cool thing to say, "Oh, well, I know about this and I know about that," but it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not.
Ah,
Oh
that's
my
scary.
gosh. All
That's
right, well,
scary.
moving on, moving on. Yes, I know. That just, and it's a question that it's almost on a daily. Am I doing the right thing? Am I good
Oh,
enough?
yeah.
Am I,
Oh, yeah.
it is on the daily. And all I can think about is just I don't know. I mean, it's just so tough. I mean, I thought that maybe moms back then would have just as much anxiety as we do, today. But when I look back to my mom, for me, she was more level headed than, any person that I've known because she always had an answer for everything,
Mhm.
if she was willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, but today it's like, oh my gosh, am I doing this? And I have a husband I can bounce this stuff off of. Jamie, however, has been a single mother, so she didn't have that except for maybe going to our mom. So, and I certainly did not. My kid is what, 13 years younger than yours is. So, or no, 25, 14, I'm sorry, 11 years
11.
younger than,
Mhm.
yeah. So, but that didn't come for a minute. So,
Yeah. No, it's a
yeah,
tough one. It's a tough one,
it
but
is. It is a
at the
tough
end
one.
of the
So
day,
y'all
I
tell
think
us what
we're
you
all
think.
yeah, we're all trying our best, to be
Yeah.
that good mom.
What do
Um,
y'all do? What do y'all think? What do y'all, go through? What are some of the things that maybe you go through and that you've overcome or things that maybe you can give us advice on too?
yeah.
Because,
What do you even
I'm
tell yourself? Maybe somebody out
yeah.
there tells themselves something like,
Mhm.
"Girl, you're rocking this mom life," or whatever, you know? You just say it.
Yeah. Yes,
Uh,
exactly. Oh,
Let us know,
exactly.
because even
Let
still,
us know.
even though Devon's 25, I still question, like, am I still doing the right thing by, and I think that's part of a later discussion, late today, but it's like, am I giving
Yeah.
him enough space as an adult, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So the next one on the list is balancing work and motherhood. So I still work. I'm a career person. I figured that out a while back that when Trinity was born, and I actually stopped working because I was spending like 11 to 13 hours a day away from her. So by the time, and then when I had to sleep for what, 6 to 8 hours, depending, and that is most of your day. So you only had this little window of time, right? And when you're a new mom and you have a newborn at home, everything is so brand new and you just want to stay. You just want to stay with them. So I did stay with her for about a year. And then I was like, okay, I'm not a stay at home mom kind of person. I have to go and have a career. And I chose to have a career. My husband stayed home with our daughter, but then at the same time, he was building up his career because he was blessed to be able to work from home. Of course, now both of us work from home, but I went out and got a job. So, but Trinity did not miss out on parenthood. And there is a difference between motherhood and parenthood because parenthood, we have our gentlemen out there who do a wonderful job. You know, most of them do a wonderful job on raising the kids, and there's a lot to be said about that in another episode, I'm sure. Um, but um, but he took the reins on that. While I went to go have a career outside the house. So, but now that I work from home and both of us are working from home, there's you have to do boundaries because, and I mean boundaries for work, because your kids are going to start questioning you like, how come you're always at work? How come you don't spend enough time with me? How come if someone calls, you're off to go, you know, talk with them about work. But if I have something I need to talk to you about, it's not as important. And, that really stings. That really stings. And it puts things into perspective for me. So, especially with a teenager now, she needs a mom. So, those are some of the boundaries that I'm struggling with, between work and motherhood. So, Jamie, you want to say something about that too?
I mean, I keep laughing when you say, like, teenager, because girl, they're like, "Ah!" Oh my gosh, they're crazy. I just remember, but no, I have a quick story, truly quick. I worked for the post office, I told you on a previous episode, for 17 years. My hours were crazy weird. I always had to have somebody helping me take Devin to school or picking him up or keeping him at night for me because I worked dead nights, like midnight to 8:30. When can I take my kid to school? School's already started. So, um, anyway, I left the post office to be with my kid. And I tell everyone that, like, I did that for Devin, nobody else. It ended up working out for me because, as a teacher, you have weekends off, which I didn't have, summers off, holidays. So then we were able to really spend all that time together. So I literally took a huge pay cut, to go do that because that stress was killing my vibe all the way as being a mom. I was so tired all the time. I never missed anything, but in reality, I probably did miss something because I was there with one eye open, like, okay, I'd rather be asleep. So, like, those shout out to those stay at home moms who do that. Like,
Hmm.
y'all, I mean, I'm telling you, that's a job in itself. And then to those other moms who are out there hustling and working and trying to make ends meet for your kids and whatnot, they're gonna be okay. You're doing a, like, fantastic bang up job. It's just I know that stress can become it's a lot. It's a lot because you wanna be here, but you gotta be here, and so just hopefully after all this is said and done, you'll have time to breathe and be like, "You know what?
Hmm.
Gonna be alright."
Yes. So another thing that we all worry about, which is truly important, is we worry about keeping our kids safe. And you're like, oh, We could probably do just a whole episode on that. Okay. Because we're
Yeah.
talking about keeping them safe. It's not just about accidents or when they fall and they get a little boo boo and you're just like, oh, it's okay, honey. Again, like, when Trinity was falling and or she fell or she scuffed up her knee or whatever, I'm like, okay, you need to pick yourself up. Let's just go ahead and clean that up and then you're good. Um, but then there's accidents that may happen, or when we talk about safety too, let's talk about our phones and social media. And those are really big ones, like keeping them safe.
Yeah.
There are parent apps out there. We can drop a few, in the comments so that way y'all know if any parent apps that you want to put on your kids' phones. It'll tell
Mhm.
you all kinds of different things that's going on there, or that they would have to have permission before they can get an app on their phone. Now, some of these apps do expire once the child does turn 13, because you do have to have a birth date on there, and it's going to remind you your child is turning blah, blah, blah. You may not have access to, do this, but let me tell you, there's something else out there you can do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
Like a
another app.
follower. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And again,
And
we can
I
drop a few of those there for you too. But if you know
I
any,
never yes.
if
I
you
never
know
even
any,
thought about that as being a fear, for of harm, but social media can be
mhm,
harmful.
it can be. And there's
Oh
people
my
out there
gosh.
who can, like it happened to my stepson. This woman who was over 22 and he was younger, he wasn't an adult yet. I mean, got him to take pictures of himself and send them to her. And that was a shocking thing for us. Like, how did we not catch that? How did we,
Yeah.
not know, that kind of thing? It's just, some people are prey on our kids, and it's just
Yeah.
something that you really need to be aware of. Check their phones. Like if Trinity ever tells us something like, well, that's my phone, it's my problem. No, no, no. That's my phone.
Yeah.
So I'm very old school.
I agree with
Privacy
that.
is a privilege. It is
Yeah.
not something that,
Yeah. No,
is
I agree with
automatically
that.
yours.
Check their phones, please.
Yes, check their phones, check their accounts, check their computers, check everything. You
Mhm.
can check their history, anything that
Yeah.
need to do to try to keep them safe. And by all means, when if they ever do have an app, make sure that they don't ever put down their address or phone number or anything else like that that can, trace them back.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that we all, I'm sure, these days think about. But also, like when your kids are walking back and forth to school, make sure that they are aware of their surroundings. Walk with friends. Um, it's always something. Or you want to go pick up your kid, go pick up your kid. There's buses, of course, but if you are really worried about their safety, then best thing to do is pick them up, or
Mm.
have you know
Someone you trust
your
too.
spouse or somebody you trust to pick them up,
Mhm.
as long as the school knows, that they're going to pick them up. But those are just a few things on safety. The other one is health and development concerns, um, which is big. Those milestones, long-term illnesses, just illnesses together. I just know when my kid gets like a cold or something and she's got fever, I feel so helpless because there's not anything I can do for her pain, other than give her medicine. But they don't want to be touched. Well, my kid doesn't want to be touched when she's in pain, nor do I. Um, but um, but yeah, I, you know, I think one time when Trinity was a baby, they said something about her not being in a certain percentile. So, but don't let that worry y'all. That should, please don't let that give you anxiety, because, you know, they'll catch up. You know what I mean? Or they may
Mhm.
never. They're just little. So
Yeah.
that could happen too. Don't ever be
Amen
worried
to
about
that.
that.
Yep.
No, yes. But I know that there's always health and development concerns. Those are one of the things. And we're just going down a list actually of what some of the things that we do worry about as moms, right,
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yeah.
I
And I
mean,
was gonna piggyback on that, health and development from a teacher's perspective, because now a lot of students are being, tested for certain learning disabilities or,
mhm,
just a disability in general. And that's a hard pill for parents to swallow because you want your kids to be quote unquote perfect, which does not exist. We all know. Um, but at the same time, know that the schools and the people in the schools, once that happens, they are supportive in every way possible. Like
mhm,
you have that support. So if it comes down to your kid has just been diagnosed with anything in the disability like spectrum or world, um, just know so many exist out there. Join a parent group, ask the school. You have lots of support when it comes to that as well. And I say that um, anxiety will still be there because it just is what it is. But know that there's tons of people out there who can support you in that journey
mhm.
because that's hard.
So
It's hard.
yeah, it is because I will tell you, and this actually hit me pretty hard, because they were telling me when Trinity was younger and she was in Montessori that they had feared that she may have a learning disability. Well, we went to go have her tested, and really it was ADHD. Okay, but let me tell you something. I cried. I cried. And they even held her back like for half a year. And I cried because I'm like, I failed as a mom. I failed as a mom. It had nothing to do with being a mom, nothing to do. And honestly, ADD or ADHD is hereditary. So my husband has ADHD, his son has ADHD, so that's hereditary. That's something I had to learn about because I didn't have that in my family, or I didn't have it as for me myself. So for me to be like, what? You don't know how to do this? You don't know how to do this? You don't know how to do this? I had to really hone back because she learns different things than I do, or than I did when I was her age. So it's something that I cried about it, and I didn't have to because it wasn't really anything that I did, you
Mhm.
know. But she does have ADHD, and she is have a 504 in place in the state of Georgia, and it'll take her wherever she needs to go. Here in Georgia, there's not any private school that offers that. You have to be in a public school to be able to get that 504, the IEP, for them to get that extra help that they're going to need to push it through to make sure they succeed, through their, through, middle school, high school, elementary, wherever you have them. And it'll take them all the way through college. I even learned that. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. So, yes, I do know that it's a hard pill to swallow, just like you had said. It
Yeah,
really is, but it has nothing to do with you. Okay.
not at all.
No. And then, of course, we have the social and emotional worries. And this is big because y'all remember like when you were in middle school, the peer pressure, the bullying, you know, um, and that toll it takes on you,
Yeah.
Uh,
And I feel like
I
I
mean,
experienced it more in high school, but now it's in middle school.
really?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I experienced mine in middle school, but we had an intermediate, fifth and sixth. So when I was in school in Texas, we had an intermediate, fifth and sixth, and then it was junior high, seventh and eighth, and the high school was 9 to 12. And
Mhm.
I remember being in fifth grade, and I mean, these cliques of people, girls, really, and some of them were just so mean, and they just wanted to get under people's skin. And I had this one. I remember opening my locker. It was on Valentine's Day, and I saw this pretty red heart that was in my locker. But when I turned it over, it was a puffed heart with a clear. It was plastic, So when I turned it over, it was full of dog food. And so when I closed my locker, the little girl standing next to me said, "Well, that's what you get because you look like a dog." And she was the one
Wow.
who actually put that in there. And I'm like,
Goodness
"That's very
gracious.
mean."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was just mind blowing. And especially as a, what, like a 10 to 12-year
5th
old, you
grader.
don't
Yeah.
understand. You're thinking, like, man, what happened? How did I
Dang.
deserve this? And then it makes you feel itty bitty.
I would yes. Oh
But
my gosh, that's crazy.
yes, I remember that to this day, and I remember the girl who did it too. But of course, when you become an adult, you forgive and you move on. But that's like a form of that, or even the peer pressure. Like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, well, if you want to be our friend, or if you want to be in our group, you need to go do this, or you need to go do that, and it's something
Yeah.
that is wrong, but you're being like pressured into it.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's just, talk to your kids about that, because they don't have to go through that, or give them something that they can um, equip themselves with to have, just in case something like that does happen. It's just, yeah, it's a
Woo,
lot, y'all.
that is a tough one.
It is. But even being a teacher, I mean, don't you, I'm sure you've had kids coming to you and be like, Miss Janie, did this just happen to me in the hallway, or whatever.
Ugh,
So I'm sure it's everywhere.
it is everywhere.
um okay, so we're going to go through this next segment pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I know we really don't have a time limit, you guys, but I try to keep it like 30 minutes. But lately we've just been having so much fun and so much to talk about that it's just getting a little bit more. And I wouldn't mind the podcast going to an hour.
Yeah.
But we'll try to get through these quickly. Um, so this next segment is, the common fears for our children's future,
Future.
which is also a mother's worry, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to know, will they be successful? Will they be happy? This ties into, am I a good enough mother to teach them these things? And some of
Yeah.
these things they're just going to have to learn on their own. You know, no one can make you happy except for yourself. No one can make you feel feelings except for yourself. If somebody does something to you, it's not they made you do something, it's how you react to it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's a conversation that you would have to have too. Um, so like
That's super important.
that is
So
super
sorry, I've had
important.
to, that is so super important to tell your kids,
Yes.
like, only you can make yourself happy.
Yes.
Only
And then
you
that's
can
so
feel the way
true.
that you feel because of someone else's words, actions. You took that in and, you know,
Right.
not that I'm saying shake everything off, Taylor Swift,
Mm-mm.
but you
No,
you
but
have
you
to
internalize it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
internalize it, see what the best outcome is for you, and then it's hard when somebody's right in front of your face and they're telling you something, and it's hard to be like, okay, I can't think clearly right now for what you're telling me, so
yeah,
give me a minute, you know,
yep,
and tell them they can do that.
yep,
Tell them they can ask, hey, I'm not at the place right now where I need to be to deal with this right now,
true. Yeah.
or
Let's take a pause.
yeah, let's take a
No,
pause.
let's take a pause.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. Even if
Mhm.
my kid has done that to me, like, let's say, for instance, we're in a hot and heavy conversation, and like she really impressed me. Like, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we're having this conversation. She goes, okay, wait. And I just looked at her like she was crazy. And she looked at me, she goes, Mom, she goes, I'm really not at a place right now to have this discussion. She goes, I think we should take a break and then maybe go think about it and then come back and talk about it when we're not so heated. And I was like, I was taken aback because I was
Yeah.
like that. It was such a grown up thing to say for a 14-year-old.
Mhm.
And, but moms and daughters click heads just like dads and sons click heads,
Mhm.
And so, and it's hard because sometimes it's like the best relationships for sometimes are the sons with the mothers and the daughters with the fathers. So
Yes.
like my girl, totally daddy's girl. totally daddy's girl. Like she could sit here and say, well, I want daddy to do this because he understands me more. Like, again, both of them have ADHD. So he does understand what she's going through. He does understand all that. And I have to take that step back and be like, okay, this is yours, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's hard, y'all. It's hard, but if that's going to help her in the long run, then that's exactly what I want for her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So we also struggle like with, who will they become? Will they make right choices? I mean, when Devin was younger, what did he say he wanted to be when he got older?
He was gonna be a professional basketball player. That's what he thought he was gonna do. Because he was in basketball, y'all. It's not like this dream he had to just be a basketball player and never touch a basketball. He played basketball. So we were like, "Yep,
No,
okay,
listen,
great."
y'all. Now he plays basketball. Listen, when I was over there for 3 weeks this last summer, I mean, the man, he's like, oh, we're going to have dinner, but Devin's playing basketball first. Or, yeah, we're going to go somewhere for the weekend, but Devin's playing basketball first before we leave. And
Yeah.
this young man,
He was all
it is
about it,
still in
but
his blood.
oh, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
still in his blood.
Yeah, he still
Seriously.
plays. Him and his friends do a little, like, adult wannabe NBA type thing. Um, sorry.
No,
Um,
hey.
but then when we were like, "Okay, Devin, let's think of a plan B," because the chances of that are, you gotta eat, sleep, breathe, everything basketball, and, I mean, he was only 50%. Um, so then he wanted to be, a plastic surgeon for a little
Oh,
while. He wanted to give everybody facelifts and eye jobs and all this, and we were all for it.
I sure would have
Yes.
helped. Let me tell you,
Yeah,
okay?
amen. Um, and then that slowly went out the window too. And so it wasn't until really I think he went to high school that he started talking about engineering, and then everything kind of fell into place there. Thank God. But you know, my biggest thing with him is, will he make the right choices? Because I did not. And so one of my fears and my anxieties raising him was, is he going to do what I did? Is he going to make the mistakes I did? Is he going to, follow the same path? Which again, thank God he didn't, because I did some things very questionable in high school, um, that now, telling him about them recently, he was like, "Mom, be quiet. Stop. You did not." And I was like, "Yes, I did." And so that's why I stayed on him so hard and was with him and at everything, and he knew, like, you know, um, but because I didn't have that, like, I didn't have anybody from, like, 7th grade till I graduated to tell me anything. So I got to do anything I wanted, and I did sometimes. So, like, my fear then raising him was like, "Oh my gosh, if he turns out like you, what are we gonna do?" Um, and so I know parents, we've all done things in our past that we don't want our kids to do. So
Right,
don't internalize that though. Like, you gotta, like, direct them in a different path, like, another way.
right,
Ugh,
right, exactly.
I like
But I'm
shudder
gonna
to
have to
think of
ask you about some of that stuff because I'm not sure if I know or not.
it.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So, like, Devin was all about basketball. My daughter's all about acting. So, she says when I'm one day a huge success in acting, she goes, and just like I think Devin had promised Jamie,
Houses
yeah, I'm
to
gonna get you,
everybody.
yeah, huh? We're gonna get you a
Houses to
mansion.
everybody.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I really don't want a mansion because I don't want to clean all that. So,
Ay, ay,
or
ay.
heat or call, or heat it or keep it air conditioning. Are you kidding? Those bills will be like through the roof.
Yes. I
Um,
need to remind him of that.
right? Oh, let's see. So here's a good one too. Letting go as they grow. Yeah, we could tell you all day, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to be good when they leave the house. I'm ready. All that kind of stuff. I'll be one of the ones because she's only 14, and yes, I'm looking for the day where she'll, go off into the sunset. But however, um, it's getting a little tougher as we get closer and closer to that because she's my girl. She's my little girl. I can sit here and have fights with her and be like, oh, she just drives me crazy. But I,
Totally normal.
yeah, totally normal. But I'm just, I'm not. It's not gonna be a good day. When she does leave, it's not gonna be a good day. I mean, she keeps on telling us, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna go for quite a while." I'm like, "No, honey, you have to go." But even
Yeah.
still, even if I tell her she has to go live her own life, it's still hard. And I just hope that as a
Good.
mom and us, as parents, that we're doing good enough to where she'll say, I want to go see my parents every week, or I want to go see them. If she's like out of state or something, I want to go see them at least once a month or once a quarter or whatever. Cause, I
Yeah.
don't get to see my mom or my mom's now because my dad passed away a few years ago. But I don't get to see them, but maybe once or twice a year. So, and I really would like to up that ante, to at least a quarter, you know,
Yeah.
or 3 or 4 times a year rather than. Um, but yeah, but now Jamie has Devin, who's about to get married in November. And I mean, talk about letting go. That's a big one,
Dude,
you
empty
know.
nesting sucks. I think it's on another, like, episode later, but it just sucks because you're
Yeah.
still, like, like I was telling you, as much as I know he's doing great, it's now I'm questioning, am I reaching out enough? Am I because I'm trying to give him his space, but I don't want him to think like, "Dang, moved out and getting married and now you don't even call to check on me," like, but I don't know how much is too much, so that's
Right.
my struggle right now, but I see him and, Izzy, couple of times a month, which isn't bad, but, like, we literally live 4 miles from each other, so that is kinda bad. But I try not to, you know what I mean? Like, they have a lot going on. So,
Yeah. They travel a lot
letting
too.
them
So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, they have the
they're
life
busy.
that I wish I did when I was their age. My God,
I know they're
they
just
travel a
doing it.
lot and to wonderful places, y'all. I mean, wonderful
Yeah,
places.
they're doing big
So,
things.
yeah. And here's a big one too: fear of losing them. Like something tragic may happen to them. I know that we had a close call. Just so y'all know, and I think I've mentioned this before, but we had a brother. We have our brother who passed away back in 2018. And shortly after that, Devin got into an accident, and it was, yeah, it's okay. It's hard to talk about because when you think about losing someone, it's what could have happened, though it didn't happen, but the possibility, you guys, wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
It just came so close after Mark
yes,
passed away, like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. It was so close. Um, and it was like, "Oh my gosh." So, it now I before that accident happened, I wasn't as, like, over the top about something happening to him, but then now it's like, "Oh my gosh, it could have happened then, and, it could still happen," and I don't know how parents go through that when they have to, have something tragic like that happen. Um, I hope I don't ever have to find out, but I know that's a fear of so many parents.
it
Um,
is. And just
yeah,
think about, like when my brother passed away, of course, our mom is still alive, right? But my dad passed away a few years after my brother passed away, but they had to go through that. I mean, how do you lose a child? How do you cope with, losing? your kid, and that for both
Mhm.
of them, like for both our mom and my dad, that was their first child, their firstborn, you
Mhm.
know, and that's
Mhm.
the hardest thing. And then when you have, siblings and everything else to go along with that, I mean, as siblings, we were heartbroken. I can't imagine as a parent.
Yeah.
I can't,
I have a
and I,
so well, I had a student that I taught, um, that passed away also in, 2017, and
mm-hmm,
he, I went to the I did not go to the funeral, but I went to the, like, viewing or the wake, if you wanna call it,
mm-hmm,
and his mom, of course, she has another son, so she had 2, and then, but when I tell you, I don't know how she stood up there and talked to all of us, how she none of that, and I told her, "I don't know how you're doing this. I would be losing it. I don't even know," right? Um, but it was actually seeing her too in that, like, strength that she, like, had mustered up. One, she of course, he passed away from cancer, so she was like, "He's no longer in pain. We're no longer" so, like, that, I think, was her relief. Um, but the fact that
mm-hmm.
you no longer see them every day, um, and get to love on them and all that, that's, I think, the hard part. Um, because
Y'all,
mom even
cancer
said
sucks.
about oh, yeah, God, don't even get me started. But mom even said that, what gives her more peace is that he is in a better place, God
Mm-hmm,
willing, right? He's in a better place. Um, and so I guess, and I say I guess because I don't know if I could, I mean, I don't know if I could
mm-mm,
be that cool about it at all.
mm-mm.
I don't.
But when you're thinking about the fear of losing them, when something like that happens, but then comes the like not being able to protect them forever. Like
Yep.
they have to learn how to be able to take care of themselves because we,
Yeah.
as a parents, if we're not going to be around forever to do that. But
No,
nor can we protect them all the time either because that's a part of their growing process, right?
it is.
But all we can do, for our children, in anything that we do is pray for them, talk to them, have those candid conversations with them. I know it can be hard sometimes, and maybe you need to take a step back, because you're what you went through when they were younger is not the same thing that they're going through now that they're going through it.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
but having these conversations about the anxieties that we have, and it's okay to talk to your kids about the anxieties that you have so that
Yeah.
they'll know, so they'll be like, okay, well, if I do this, then mom's going to get upset, or if I don't do this, then dad's going to be doing that, whatever it is, you
Yeah.
know have those conversations. It doesn't take much for a quick little prayer, or just
True.
a small meditation to get over the anxiety that we all have as parents, um, that we may or may not be bringing up our kids right, or that we may, think, oh, when they're an adult, they're never going to come visit me because I was such, this kind of parent. No, just have those conversations. Um, I'm a big one on faith. Of course, I'm rooted in my faith. And I believe that everything happens according to what God has already chosen for us. And sometimes when, something happens and you're like, did you really just have me go through that? It is for a bigger purpose. And that is the thing that I always try to keep my eye on, is a bigger purpose.
Mhm.
So, but again, we will go ahead and put down like some of these scripture that'll be good for you to read if you're going through some of these things.
Yeah.
And as always, we always will be like, if you want to talk to somebody, if it's not one of us and you have friends or family, there are other groups maybe on Facebook that you can get involved into.
Mhm.
But we're always encouraging, y'all to go ahead and talk to somebody. Talking is so, how do you
Helpful.
say it? Just, yeah, but it just
Oh,
releases.
yes.
Like
Agree.
sometimes when you talk about something that's been on your chest for a while and you know that you couldn't get it out, and all of a sudden you did, it's just like,
Mhm.
and then it's almost like a cloud lifted, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go about my day now, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah.
So again, share, 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 share. If you need someone to talk to, just ask us. We would love to hear your stories, love to hear from you. Please do not hesitate to post a comment on what you think of, this podcast. We're here every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So next week, what is going on next week, Jamie?
Oh, what are we doing next week? Okay, next week is relationship and social anxiety, people pleasing, and boundaries.
Hmm. Again, two more parts of anxiety
Yes.
that we'll be covering. And I think that's going to be really important too, because relationships, this is what it's about, right? Like building community and relationships. But in some relationships, they come and they go, and you have to think of what is healthy for you, you know what is
Yes.
healthy for you. You can't be in a relationship where it's toxic, or you have someone saying, oh, I'm your friend, but they keep on doing things that are not very friendly.
Yeah.
So
Make you
we are going
question
to
that.
talk about that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So we do encourage you to, reach out to other moms, or a mentor that maybe, that you could talk to, or, share your struggles with somebody, just like we had mentioned. Let's see. Anything
Here's
else we're missing
another,
here, sister?
just real quick, here's another option for those of you who might still even be struggling with your faith in the midst of
Mhm.
anxiety. Um, and I only say this because I'm speaking now from my personal experience. Um, I go to church like sporadically here and there. I get invited to a friend's church. Sure, let me come check it out. My husband goes to church, and I'm sure, let me go check it out. And I just randomly drop in. I don't have a church I call home or anything. But the last few weeks, um, at my husband's church, they have groups. Every
Mhm.
Wednesday, there's a group for everybody. You would not even, you're like, there's not a group for me. I'm like this, that, and the other. They have women's groups, they have men's groups, they have divorce recovery group, they have a marriage group. Me personally, guess which group I'm in? Anxiety and depression, because that is my biggest struggle right now. Is I
Mhm.
struggle big time with that. I was on medication for it for a little while. I've been to doctors about it. So I say that only because in the last few weeks, just going consistently every Wednesday, talking to other people, building that community of people going through similar and, shall I say, worse things than me, has helped me tremendously. So if you're struggling with those two aspects, or just one, try to find a close by place where you can go. These were complete strangers to me just 4 or 5 weeks ago. Now they've become group chat members, they become inspirational people. So, like, even if, you know, you share this podcast and you share this with people and you like what's going on here, get somewhere else too, in a like maybe physical environment or online environment, to just talk about those things. It
That
does
is good
help.
stuff. Oh
It
my
helps
gosh, that is
slow.
so good.
I can't even tell you the transformation. And I have a friend
Hmm.
who's been going with me, who's known me for several years, and just the transformation the two of us have been like going through and seeing, it's so well worth it to get yourself in a community of people. And let us be those people. I'm all up
Yes,
for it. My sister's all
absolutely.
up for it.
I
Um,
am.
and also, like, it may take more than just one community of people. You know,
Yeah.
it's got to be big.
Immerse yourself, you guys. Immerse
That's
yourself with other
beautiful.
groups.
Beautiful
Yes.
word. Immerse
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. Y'all do
Sheesh.
that. I mean, we're only one resource, right? So, but there's many more out there. And, some of your local churches have some great resources. So take advantage. And they're
Yeah,
free, which is the
yeah.
best part,
They
you
are.
know?
They
So
are.
yes. And it, and like she said in a
Great.
group, we have small groups. I have two churches that have actually transformed my life here in Georgia, and they're 12 Stone and Brownsbridge, which is part of North Point. They do have Sunday services online if you ever want to, check them out. And it's just wonderful. They're both wonderful churches, and they both made an impact on my life. So, and we both have small groups on all of those.
Yeah.
And my husband and I have actually ran a small group before. And it's very fun and it's informative and it's just wonderful. All right. So that's it, you guys. We're at the 1 hour mark. Oh my gosh. I don't think we had
Oh,
ever thought
sorry.
we'd ever be here. Don't be sorry, girl. This was fun. If anything, we have fun. We love talking about this stuff. And that's why we're here. I mean, this is the whole reason, is to help people and to reach out, have that community. And we would love to be part of yours. So, reach out, to comment, post, invite others. Y'all invite. So, so let's go ahead and kick this off. Remember, you're part of a community that cherishes deep conversations and warm cups of comfort. Keep faith, spread love, and savor every sip of life. Join us the next time for Impactful Series, which is what we're doing now, the second part. And then until then, take care and keep brewing positivity. Bye, you
Amen,
guys.
sister.
Have a
Bye.
great week. Bye bye.